We've all experienced it, haven't we? That incredibly intense, sometimes bewildering connection you have with your closest female friends, the
Mhm.
ones who feel less like just friends and more like, well, family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's often amazing, absolutely vital, and sometimes, let's be honest, it can feel like walking through a total minefield.
it really can.
And that deep, resonant complexity is exactly what we're going to unpack today. We've pulled together insights from, a really rich collection of sources you shared,
Yeah.
including real women's candid stories and some fascinating linguistic analysis to take a real deep dive into the intricate, often surprising world of women's friendships.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We want to help you understand what makes these relationships uniquely challenging, but also profoundly rewarding.
Right.
We want to shed some light on the unwritten rules, the kind of nuanced communication styles, and those dynamics that are often unspoken but shape these absolutely vital bonds.
And it's not just about what happens in these friendships, is it? It's the why. Why it matters so deeply and how it fundamentally shapes our lives.
Exactly. So let's start by exploring this unique landscape. The sources highlight that conversations among women friends often share a surprising amount of common ground with family relationships.
Yeah, like mothers and daughters or sisters, that
Yeah.
kind of vibe.
Women tend to talk more often and about, well, more personal topics.
And what's really insightful there is that this tendency towards deeper, more frequent talk isn't just a feature, it's kind of the engine of women's friendships.
Okay.
It drives that profound intimacy and closeness, sure, but it also inherently creates this unique minefield where the very tools of connection words can become sources of missteps, emotional intensity.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. But then when you try to define friend, it gets a bit fuzzy, doesn't it?
Oh, totally gazing. Yeah.
Unlike the clear labels like mother or sister, friend can cover such a huge range of relationships. What does that breadth tell us?
Well, I think it tells us that friend isn't some fixed identity, but more a role defined by shared experience, by emotional investment.
Hmm.
You're right, it's a dizzying array.
Yeah.
People you talk to every day, people you haven't seen in years, lifelong bonds, recent acquaintances, even friends you've never actually met in person.
Huh.
So the sheer number of meanings packed into that one word means it's a relationship that's constantly being defined and redefined by the people in it. And that adds flexibility, but also, ambiguity.
Right. But despite that, that dizzying array and the constant redefining the indispensable role of friendship just shouts from the pages, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Loud and clear. Almost no one says they don't want women friends.
Yeah.
And those who feel they lack them, they often express this really profound regret. It
Yeah.
reminds me of that poignant quote from one woman reflecting after her husband died. She sold her perfect house because it just didn't make her happy anymore. And she said, it's all stuff except people and relationships.
Wow. What do you think that reveals about the core human need here?
I think it shows that for many people, connection isn't just important, it's foundational. It's everything. And look, this deep dive focuses on women. But it's really crucial to acknowledge that many of these observations about the depth, the distress, the time invested,
Sure.
they can and do apply to men and mixed gender friendships too. But what often seems to surprise men, in particular, is just the sheer emotional investment and intensity women often pour into these relationships.
So if these relationships are so vital, what's the glue? What holds them together even through those minefields we mentioned? It seems from your sources that talk, or what the material calls being there in action, that's the key.
Absolutely. The phrase "she was there for me" just came up again and again. It's like the hallmark of a treasured friendship.
Right.
And what's striking is the sheer range of what being there means in these stories.
Mm.
From childhood, you see friends literally like encircling a third grader who is having a tough time at home, protecting her from curious castmates.
Wow.
Then in adulthood, it ramps up to really practical, life-sustaining support. Friends bringing meals, giving rides to chemo, distant friends flying in and staying for a week or more after surgery.
That's amazing.
One woman even described her friends as a maid brigade who showed up after her painful divorce to help clean and organize because she was, in her words, sort of dysfunctional at that point.
That's incredible practical support, a powerful testament to friendship.
Yeah.
But the flip side, of course, is when that support just isn't there, when it's crucially absent.
Yeah, that hurts.
Shirley's story about her husband's Parkinson's is just heartbreaking. Friends she thought were closest just vanished, especially this one couple who'd been among their dearest.
No.
The wife told Shirley her husband can't handle seeing your husband that way. And Shirley's response was, we had to live with his Parkinson's every day, and she's telling me her husband can't stand it for an hour.
Oof, that's rough.
And Shirley's agonizing question was, if a friend isn't there when you need her, what is a friend? It just speaks volumes about that breach of trust, doesn't it? When that core expectation isn't met.
It truly does. And that scenario gets right to the ultimate test of friendship. The sources highlighted these hypothetical scenarios, like, could you call a friend at 3 in the morning for $100 for a plane ticket? Or even for bail?
Right?
And the expected answer is immediate. Okay, can I come in my nightie? I'll be right there.
Yeah.
But even more powerfully, we heard real-life accounts. Friends flying across the country after a spouse died, staying to teach practical skills like how to write checks, and keeping up daily calls for a whole year.
Incredible.
But being there isn't just for those huge cataclysmic events. One woman remembered her next-door neighbor coming over just to commiserate about dropping mayonnaise and eggs all over the kitchen floor.
Yeah, sometimes it's the small stuff.
It's the consistency of the support, big and small. That's the glue.
Those are such vivid examples of talk as the core glue. My own mother used to tease me for saying it so often, but it's true. For girls, your best friend is the one you tell everything to.
And studies on kids' play really back this up beautifully. Girls' social lives often center on a best friend. Lots of time spent just sitting and talking, especially swapping secrets. And these aren't always big dramatic secrets. Sometimes the action of whispering is more important than whatever they're actually saying.
Right, the ritual of it.
Exactly.
Right.
And this stands in stark contrast to boys, who tend to use language more for, establishing status boasting, telling jokes, giving commands. It really shows how these communication styles are kind of baked in from a really young age.
That distinction really highlights how crucial communication is and how deeply it ties into trust. But then there's the emotional cost when you feel exploited.
Yes.
Cassie's meltdown from the material you provided really brings this home. Her dearest friend, Meg, seemed to prioritize a casual acquaintance during a visit and then kept asking Cassie for rides, making her feel used. It wasn't just about feeling passed over. Cassie was deeply hurt. She feared Meg was hiding something significant, or maybe just wasn't the friend she thought she knew anymore. It's that profound sense of betrayal that's so striking.
And what's fascinating here is how these deep emotional investments make that conversational minefield even more perilous. We often hear about the classic frustration between women and men during troubles talk, right?
Right. Women wanting empathy.
Yeah, saying the same thing happened to me or I know how you feel, while men tend to jump in with solutions. But is that always the full picture when women talk to each other?
Good question. And while that's a common dynamic, it's also important to clarify, like the sources do, that women do often want advice eventually.
Right, but usually after they've had a chance to really explore the situation, get some context, ask follow-up questions. It's about that process of shared understanding, not just a quick fix.
Exactly. Process over product sometimes.
Precisely. Which then leads to another tricky area. What about well-intended advice that actually backfires? The story of Amy and Bev from Your Sources is a great example. Amy gave Bev all this practical advice about her unexpected pregnancy. Seemed helpful on the surface,
Right.
but it unknowingly stemmed from Amy's own unacknowledged jealousy. Bev didn't take the advice, which strained the friendship. The reconciliation was tough, but it ended with this meaningful text. Just YT for you there. A kind of silent agreement that their bond had survived despite the misstep. It's a powerful reminder that good intentions don't always guarantee good effects,
Absolutely. And speaking of unintended consequences, the danger of disaster stories, that's something we can probably all relate to.
Oh, definitely.
Well-meaning stories about, say, childbirth complications or a friend's terrible fall, maybe told to warn you or help you prepare, but they can be deeply disturbing to actually hear. What makes those seemingly helpful stories so unhelpful sometimes?
I think it's the often unacknowledged difference in emotional impact. The speaker might just be thinking out loud, free associating, or genuinely trying to offer a cautionary tale.
Right.
But the listener absorbs it as a potential personal threat or just a deeply unsettling image that sticks with them. And this connects directly to how precarious secrets can be.
Okay. How so?
Well, the vault metaphor is incredibly apt. Secrets are valuable currency in friendship, but there's no guarantee they'll stay locked up.
True.
A friend might accidentally let something slip or intentionally share a secret to show closeness to someone else, or in the worst cases, even use a secret against you later. The sources show women are constantly, often unconsciously, monitoring these risks.
And that monitoring leads right into the pervasive fear of gossip. Your sources show this is pretty universal.
Yeah, from a small Kazakh village to an American mom warning her daughter about bridge club friends who run out of things about themselves to say and then move on to talking about you.
Ouch.
Bad gossip talking against someone is a primary reason some women give for distrusting other women. So what's the catch-22 here?
Right, because you need to share to build intimacy.
Exactly. The catch-22 is that if protecting yourself from gossip means you never reveal personal information, you also lose the chance to make those deep, intimate friendships you crave.
Mm-hmm.
Carly's story illustrates this perfectly. She initially pulled back from groups she saw as backstabbing and gossiping, but then realized she was missing out on the very intimacy she wanted.
Did she find a way back?
Happily, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Her friendships later deepened as she learned to navigate it. And one way women manage this risk is by confiding in friends who are outside their main social circle, finding a safe harbor where there's no one to tell. It's a strategic act of trust, really.
That makes sense. Given this profound reliance on communication, it's no surprise that when conversational styles collide, things can get really tricky.
For sure.
Sometimes women even prefer to avoid troubles talk altogether. They might value the company of men sometimes, specifically because there's less constant verbal processing.
Right. Or they learn to just say, I'm fine, even when they're not, just to sidestep the whole thing.
Yeah. And interestingly, the sources note some men do engage in deep talk, but often it's mediated by an activity, like playing video games together, which maybe helps diffuse the intensity a bit.
Which brings us to a really crucial distinction the sources highlighted. Different conversational styles. Specifically, high considerateness versus high involvement.
Okay, break those down for us.
Sure. High considerateness usually means more physical distance, softer voices, maybe more impersonal topics, more indirectness, basically leaving plenty of room, plenty of pauses for the other person to talk.
Got it. And high involvement.
That's kind of the opposite. It expects shorter pauses between turns, closer physical distance, more animation, louder speech, more personal stories shared readily, and asking direct personal questions is seen as showing interest and being involved.
Okay, I can already see the potential for clashes there.
Oh yeah. The problem arises because these differences can lead to profound frustration, even between really good friends. What one friend sees as polite, like being quiet and listening intently.
The other might see as
Disinterest, aloofness, even a slight. It really challenges that old golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
because what you'd want done might be exactly what irritates someone else.
Exactly right. And this is particularly clear with indirectness, a style that's pretty common among women when they're trying to subtly get their way or avoid confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
While it can be effective, it often leads to what the sources call overthinking. And these really drawn-out conversations. Remember the I guess that's okay running example?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
Well, someone said, I guess that's okay about a schedule change, but it sounded unenthusiastic, right? So it led to like 4 rounds of back and forth just to confirm a simple timing change.
Oh, right. Exhausting.
But then you have Kate, who successfully used indirectness to cancel a party she didn't want to host by artfully hinting about her paper deadline instead of just saying, I need to cancel.
Yeah.
It worked, but it took finesse.
And the most extreme form of indirectness has got to be silence, right? Often used specifically to avoid conflict.
Yes, but paradoxically, silence can actually escalate conflict. Think of Barbara's experience with Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie just stopped returning calls and emails about their planned trip to Montreal.
That's infuriating.
Totally. It was her way of avoiding saying a direct no, but it drove Barbara crazy. And this stands in really stark contrast to how men sometimes handle conflict, often much more directly, sometimes even using profanity, but then it's over.
The contrast is stark, isn't it?
It really is. Silence, in these cases, becomes a powerful form of communication itself, but one that leaves the recipient filling in the blanks, usually with negative assumptions.
And sometimes, even when you do talk it through and clarify, a misinterpretation can leave these lingering doubts. Gail and Bridget's story.
Ah, yes, where Gail said Bridget's house looked like it had so much work put into it.
Then Bridget heard too much, like it was overdone or excessive.
Exactly. And even after Gail assured her she meant it as high praise, Bridget felt this lingering discomfort, this suspicion. These subtle misfires can just keep whispering in your head, eroding trust from the inside out.
Okay, now this next part I find truly fascinating. The delicate dance between sameness and difference in friendships, and how it subtly blurs into competition.
Yeah, this is a really rich area. Both similarities and differences are treasured in friendship. What's the core tension here, do you think?
Well, it seems like similarities offer comfort, that feeling of understanding, right? You get me.
Right. But differences can actually enhance perspective, open up new worlds for you. And what's kind of counterintuitive is that often the deeper the friendship, the less you have to have in common.
Really, how does that work?
With truly deep friends, differences can be a source of strength, like the yin and yang example in the sources. Or think about randomly assigned college roommates who find balance because they're complementary, not identical. It's about finding enrichment in what the other person brings.
But the pursuit of sameness can also be incredibly constricting, can't it?
Oh, definitely.
Thinking back to those preschool examples, the little girls finding such pleasure in matching things, shouting, "The same!"
Yeah. Well, the boys are often more into competitive boasting, trying to top each other.
But even in that sameness game, there can be an element of competition. Like the girl who matches her friend by saying her mom and dad were contacts, subtly one-upping the friend who only mentioned her babysitter.
Exactly. There's this underlying pressure that if you don't immediately affirm sameness, if you don't say, me too, or I'm the same, it can imply I'm different and maybe I'm better, which can cause friction.
Right. So not sharing a friend's problem might feel like you're putting them down.
Precisely. One woman in the sources actually said her friends would protest, stop putting me down, if she didn't share their specific complaint or issue. And this subtle negotiation of sameness often feeds right into competition.
Which, as you said, is often hidden but can creep into almost any conversation.
It really can.
Yeah.
What do you think is the unifying insight behind all these different faces of competition?
Well, it seems like competition in women's friendships isn't always the obvious, overt kind. It's often this really subtle, deeply personal negotiation of belonging, status, the desire to be seen and valued. Is that fair?
I think that's a great way to put it. It can show up as something seemingly minor, like taking secret bridge lessons to level the playing field with friends.
Or that quiet struggle of feeling inadequate when you compare your life to your friends' lives, maybe their husbands' jobs or roles.
Right. And the pain can become acute when life circumstances are just too different, like one friend struggling with infertility while another complains constantly about her children.
Yeah, that's tough.
And then there are the literal competitions that can actually end friendships, like Joyce Carol Oates' story about a memorization contest in 7th grade. Her winning cost her the friendship.
Wow. And it's not just direct competition either, is it? There's that sophisticated friend who subtly excludes another through talk.
Yes, like Lorraine, who'd start talking about sex and then stop, telling her friend Cheryl, "Oh, you wouldn't understand. You've never done it." It's a way of establishing superiority through exclusion.
And then there's competition for connection itself.
Right. Like girls showing off how close they are with inside jokes that leave others out.
Mm.
Or wives subtly competing for inclusion within an extended family circle.
And it can get even more painful, like the sources mentioning the, frankly, shameful competition for closeness to a friend who is dying.
It's hard to even talk about.
Hmm.
And at its absolute darkest, you have stories like Jenny's manipulative hide-and-seek game, where she preyed on a friend's loyalty just to humiliate her publicly.
Right.
The line between seeking connection and engaging in this subtle, often damaging competition is just incredibly blurry sometimes.
Yeah.
Often fueled by insecurity, maybe, or just a deep desire for affirmation.
Okay, shifting gears a bit from individual dynamics, let's talk about how these complex interactions play out within groups.
Right, the group dimension.
The safe embrace of women in groups is undeniably powerful. We saw examples like friends rallying around Carla when her daughter was seriously ill, or those lifelong college friendships that sustain people across decades and distances.
Absolutely. That solidarity can be incredible.
But then there's the flip side, that really scary feeling of being outside a tight-knit women's group. Audrey's experience at couples' dinners really highlighted that.
Remind me.
She felt like the odd woman out, couldn't join the conversations about shared history kids. She felt men's groups were often easier to break into. What's at the heart of that intense feeling of exclusion?
I think what's at the heart of it is that pervasive fear we all recognize. Fall blow. Fear of being left out.
Oh, full blow, yes.
And its roots go way back, even to childhood games. Girls often ostracize friends using talk and secrets, who's in, who's out. It's different from how boys might handle status, maybe including lower status peers and activities anyway.
So that exclusivity is built in.
If you're telling secrets, only certain friends can be present, right?
Yeah.
And that exclusivity can feel both incredibly comforting if you're inside the circle and utterly terrifying if you're on the outside.
And trios can be particularly complex terrain for this, can't they?
Oh, definitely. Three's a crowd. Sometimes.
They can offer comfort by diffusing the intensity between two people, but they also ramp up the potential for faux glow through these shifting alignments.
Explain that.
While when two friends in the trio connect over something specific they share, maybe they went to the same high school or they were both at a party, the third person missed.
Okay.
The third friend can suddenly feel left out. There are awkward silences, maybe a desperate struggle to get back into the conversation. It's like an emotional tightrope walk.
It really is. And we also see that manipulative strategy, divide and conquer.
Right, where someone befriends individuals within a group separately and then uses secrets and gossip to create splits and exclusion.
Which leads directly to FRGCO.
FAGICO. Okay, what's that?
Fear of getting kicked out.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
We heard examples of groups just turning on a friend Abby at the party who suddenly found herself ostracized. Mona being unelected from a leadership role without warning.
That's brutal.
And then there's the profound guilt of the ones who stay silent, who don't stand up for the friend being pushed out because they're desperate to stay in the lifeboat themselves.
Wow. Okay, then there's this idea of too close for comfort. Friendship as a force for growth, but also, paradoxically, for pruning. When does closeness become impingy or even feel like theft?
Good question. I think it happens when sameness goes too far, when boundaries feel violated. It could be literal, like physically recoiling when a friend suddenly gets too close, too familiar, or when a friend starts outright copying your style, your mannerisms, your choices. It can feel like an invasion or like they're stealing a part of your identity.
Oh, right. And this also extends to poaching, right?
Yes. Poaching, when friends you introduce to each other start connecting without you. That can feel like an aggravated faux blow, as one source put it.
Aggravated faux blow, I like that.
It can feel like a profound betrayal. And there are all these unwritten rules around it, aren't there? Like, you should probably invite the introducer along the first few times, or there's this unspoken expectation that the new friendship won't become closer than the original ones.
Fascinating. And speaking of unhealthy dynamics, what about the schnorrer friend, the moocher?
Ah, the schnorrer, yes.
Yeah.
That's someone who seems to be seeking friendship primarily for what they can get out of it. Favors, connections, support.
And that builds resentment.
Huge resentment, especially when they seem to mooch off all our friends and then leave us in the dust once they don't need anything anymore.
And the tyrant friend, the one who exerts control. Why do people put up with that?
That's a complex one. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's habit, sometimes maybe they get something out of the dynamic too. But it's a relationship that often leads to deep frustration and ultimately to cutoffs.
Right, the painful end of friendships.
These often stem from some unjust outburst of anger, maybe, or it's the final straw after a long buildup of frustrations, like Ellen and Amelia's abrupt end, or Aaron finally cutting off Angie after a series of slights culminated in being excluded from her birthday plans.
What seems particularly bewildering, though, from the material is the mystery of the unexplained cutoff.
Oh, that's incredibly painful.
Being cut off without any explanation just leaves you hanging, doesn't it? A total lack of closure.
It absolutely does. And sometimes the friend doing the cutting off is simply trying to avoid confrontation. Or maybe they felt overwhelmed by the very closeness they'd helped create and just fled.
So it's another paradoxical way to avoid conflict that actually causes more pain.
Often, yes. Far more pain and confusion for the person left wondering what happened. And it's ironic because the desire to talk things through is so valued in women's friendships, right?
Right.
But sometimes that very impulse can devolve into what gets disparaged as drama.
Yeah.
And that drama itself becomes a source of frustration, potentially contributing to these very cutoffs it was meant to prevent.
Wow, it's a cycle. Okay, let's shift into the digital age. Social media adds whole new layers of complexity, sometimes really bewildering layers, to all these dynamics.
For sure. It presents this constant ambiguity, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, on the one hand, it's great for connecting with distant friends.
Yeah.
But it also brings intrusive distractions right into our face-to-face interactions. And it can seriously aggravate that phobia we talked about.
Right. That fear of being left out gets amplified online.
Totally.
Yeah.
And even when you're together in person, phones can create what the sources call enforced overhearing.
Enforced overhearing.
Yeah, like when two people are huddled over a screen looking at something together laughing, it publicly excludes anyone else who's physically right there with them.
Ah, I've seen that. And communication styles themselves have shifted so dramatically, haven't they? From maybe long, in-depth phone calls to these frequent, shorter digital exchanges. texts, DMs.
It changes the whole rhythm of connection. And this shift has definitely led to new norms, but also new misunderstandings.
Like,
Think about texting. Do you assume it's about frequency, lots of quick check-ins, or about emotional depth, reserving texts for important things? People have different assumptions.
and read receipts. Reassuring for some, anxiety-inducing for others if there's no immediate reply.
Exactly. Or even emojis. They can carry different weight. Like the sources mentioned, Omani women might use multiple emojis to show strong approval, whereas men might just use a single thumbs up. It's a minefield of subtle miscommunication potential.
It really is. And then there's the phenomenon of pre-friendship friendships.
Right, where a social media request, like a friend request, isn't necessarily instant intimacy. It's often just a gesture towards maybe getting to know someone better down the line.
Setting expectations is key there. But perhaps most revealing about the digital age and friendship is Finstagram, or Finsta.
Ah, yes, the fake Instagram, that's actually more real.
Exactly. Where young women share, unattractive pictures, random stories, and drunk pictures. The uncurated stuff, but only with a small, trusted circle.
What does that tell us?
I think it highlights that enduring, deep desire to be your true self with your close friends, to have a space for vulnerability, even in this highly curated digital world.
That makes sense. But social media can also painfully spotlight disconnection, can't
Oh,
it?
yeah. That enforced overhearing of former friends' posts, seeing their lives continue without you, or getting caught in email drama when group dynamics shift and the CC list changes.
It can be a harsh, public reminder of lost friendships and just the sheer information overload.
Tell me about it.
The constant pings, buzzes, and rings from multiple group chats can be totally crazy-making, as one source put it, even as they ironically fulfill that inclination many women have to not leave anyone out. It's a real paradox of connection.
Absolutely. Okay, finally, let's explore how friends can sometimes transcend their typical role and truly become like family, often forming the deepest connections of all.
Yeah, the chosen family idea.
The honestly imperative seems key here. Friends who are willing to reveal their own vulnerability, who don't hide the painful parts of their lives.
Or who offer that tough love, like the woman who told her friend her new haircut was, well, actually ugly.
Ah, risky.
Totally. Or Rosalie's telling her friend she really needed to wear a bra. It takes a deep level of trust and care to say those things, and for them to be received as acts of friendship, not criticism. It goes beyond polite niceties.
That's a deep level of trust, absolutely. And friends can literally become like family by sharing homes, right? As roommates, or just becoming such frequent, comfortable visitors that their presence feels like part of the household fabric.
Right, it allows for this unique level of intimacy and ease that you often only find at home.
Which makes me wonder, are we losing something valuable by increasingly socializing in restaurants rather than in each other's homes?
It's a really interesting question.
That's a
The sources seem to lament that shift, suggesting we might be losing some of that duper intimacy, the raucous laughter, the
Yeah.
potential for conversations to just sprawl comfortably for hours.
Yeah, the lingering.
That's a perceptive point. And it leads to another crucial question. How does an acquaintance even become a friend in the first place?
Right. What's the magic moment?
Often it seems it's simply by starting to act like one. Showing up, sharing, offering support. Some languages even mark this transition formally, with different forms of you, to signal growing closeness.
Oh, interesting. Like a grammatical shift in intimacy.
Exactly. And friends can definitely become a surrogate family, fulfilling roles that maybe biological family can't or won't. For example, helping someone who grew up in a difficult family learn to trust outsiders.
And we see this play out so clearly and sometimes quite movingly in senior residences.
Yes, that was fascinating. New friends there really function like family on a daily basis, saving seats at dinner, driving each other to the ER, visiting in the hospital, knowing each other's preferences intimately.
Providing absolutely essential support.
Essential, it's daily support. But as the sources reveal, they often can't replicate that irreplaceable depth of lifelong friends, the ones who share decades of history, who knew you when.
Yeah, the shared past.
And making new deep friends later in life presents its own unique challenges, from just tiring more easily to sometimes facing the unconscious ageism of younger people.
Navigating loss together is another crucial area where friends often step into that family role, isn't it?
Hugely important. And so difficult. It's hard to know what to say when someone's grieving.
Right. Some people valued "how are you doing" as an opening to talk, while others found it impossible to answer.
How are you doing today? Was often preferred. because it felt less overwhelming, more manageable.
That makes sense. And those vague offers, let me know if I can do anything, they often fall flat, don't they?
They do. They put the burden back on the grieving person. What seems most helpful is specific actions, bringing food, running an errand, or perhaps most powerfully, just showing up, just being present.
The crucial insight seems universal. It's always better to reach out, even if you feel awkward, even if you don't know what to say.
Absolutely. That gesture matters immensely.
You know, my own little anecdote about a misunderstanding with my friend Wendy over helping in the kitchen really illustrates how talking about these ingrained conversational style differences, things we often learn in our families, can actually shed light on interactions and strengthen friendships.
How did that work out?
Well, I learned I needed to offer to help her more than once because her default was polite refusal the first time, and she learned that when I said, "No thanks, I'm good," the first time, I actually meant it.
Ah, so you created a shared understanding around your different styles.
Exactly. It stopped the guessing games and deepened our bond because we understood where the other was coming from.
And that kind of shared understanding really points to the double-edged sword of closeness, doesn't it?
How so?
Deep friendship, much like family, involves, as one source put it, literally sharing emotions,
Mm.
feeling each other's joys and
Right,
pains,
empathy.
which leads to profound connection, incredible support. But it also means absorbing others' negative emotions sometimes, facing your own vulnerabilities reflected back at you. It deepens relationships, but it also exposes you to risks, to pain that you might otherwise be insulated from.
It's a testament to the immense value we place on these bonds that we take those risks.
Absolutely.
So we've really taken a deep dive today into the incredibly complex, often perplexing, but ultimately essential world of women's friendships, drawing directly from that wealth of sources you provided.
Well, you really have.
We've seen how they're shaped by these unique conversational dynamics, intricate unspoken rules, and constantly evolving societal expectations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our hope, really, is that by understanding these dynamics, everything from the subtle dance of sameness and difference to the perils of gossip and the profound power of just being there,
Mm-hmm.
that you, listening, can maybe be an even better friend and navigate the intricacies of your own vital relationships with a bit more awareness, maybe more compassion.
Indeed. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If figuring out what it means to be a friend is, in the end, no less than figuring out how we connect to other people, what new insights will you bring to your next conversation with a friend?